It's my honor today to welcome His Excellency, the Secretary General of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, to Offa Air Force Base here in Nebraska. It's a great honor for us to host the Secretary General of NATO. It's a great honor for us to be here today. It's an important visit for us. It's the first time a NATO Secretary General has been here in 54 years. So it's an historic day, and I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to visit us today, and it's great to have you here. It's important to be part of the alliance.
Thank you so much, General Hyten. It's great for me to be here, and thank you for hosting me and my delegation. The work and the responsibility at this command is important for the whole alliance. Is the supreme guarantee for credible deterrence, and it keeps all allies safe and secure. I visited this place, the same command, back in 1918. Then it was called Strategic Air Command. And I remember that after the end of the Cold War, we all believed that nuclear deterrence was going to be less important, but we have seen that nuclear issues have actually become more important, because we see proliferation of nuclear weapons. We see that old nuclear powers, as for instance Russia, are modernizing their nuclear capabilities, and therefore we have to make sure that NATO continue to have credible and strong deterrence, and of course nuclear forces is absolutely necessary part of credible deterrence from the alliance. So we thank you so much for the briefing today, but we thank you also for the work you do here every day to keep all allies safe.
So, any questions?
Yes, sir. Was there anything that stood out today during your visit that maybe you didn't learn, that was reiterated, that was of particular importance to you, sir?
I think what I learned today, which is very different from last time I was here in 1980, is that this command is not only about strategic air forces, but now it's all the different capabilities, the different nuclear capabilities, but also global strike, cyber, space, and some other of the key capabilities which are necessary to provide credible deterrence all the time.
Mr. Secretary, thank you very much for coming. Can you just tell us, you're here in the States and you are visiting very few locations. Why was it important you come to STRATCOM?
Because STRATCOM is important for NATO. It's of course important for the United States, but the United States being the by far biggest and strongest NATO ally, the capabilities that this command provides are essential for all NATO allies. This is about credible deterrence, and the purpose of credible and strong deterrence is of course not to provoke a conflict, but to prevent the conflict, and the work which is done here every day prevent conflicts, and that's the reason why we are so grateful for the work which this command is doing every day, and that's also the reason why it's important for NATO and me and my staff to fully understand what is taking place here. At the same time, I think it's also important to understand that in NATO we are now increasing our focus on nuclear issues, because we see proliferation, and we see also the modernization of Russian forces, nuclear forces. We see that they are integrating more and more conventional forces with nuclear forces, and by doing so, Russia is also reducing the threshold for use of Russian nuclear weapons, and all of this we have to follow closely. And therefore also we meet in the nuclear planning group in NATO to discuss and to address these issues which are important for the whole alliance.
Last question. Okay. Sir, you talked about the increasing importance of nuclear deterrence and strategic deterrence. Can you talk specifically about some of the ways that we combat those, especially with regards to global security, regional security, and 21st century deterrence? What are things we do to combat?
Well, that's about that. Nuclear deterrence is of course important, but that's only a part of the deterrence that we deliver every day. And it's about what the US delivers, but also what all NATO allies deliver together. And NATO has, especially after the illegal annexation of Crimea in 2014, and the pattern of reckless behavior of Russia we have seen since then, but also the rise of Daesh, ISIS, we have responded by implementing the biggest reinforcement of our collective defense since the end of the Cold War. And we have deployed troops to the eastern part of the lines. We have increased the readiness of our forces, tripled the size of the NATO response force. And for the first time in many, many years, we are also investing more. Defense spending is now increasing across Europe and Canada. And on top of that, we are also, of course, strengthening our cyber defenses, and step by step also building out missile defense. So NATO is responding to a more unpredictable and challenging security environment. And again, what's taking place here is important for that adaptation and how NATO is responding.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.